What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to talk about an interesting subject when it comes to game rooms, game collections, all that kind of stuff, right? Should you be collecting games complete in box, or should you be collecting them cart only? I'll talk more all about that right after the intro. Alright, so let's talk about this. Collecting games complete in box or collecting games loose, where it's just the cartridge or the disc only. This is something that I've thought about plenty of times over the years when collecting games for my personal game room and game collection. For those that are tuning into the channel for the first time, my name is Nate the Game Guy. I am a game collector that is truly passionate about the hobby. I'm getting close to about 3,400 games in my personal game room. I've got 2 complete sets, and I just love this hobby. All right, so let's break down some terminology first. What does complete in box mean? Essentially, when you buy a game complete in box, it means that you're buying a game that comes with the box or the case, the manual, inserts if the game has come with inserts, and of course the game. A lot of game collectors like to collect games complete in box, and a lot of them like to do so is because, you know, it gives that sense of perfectionism, completionism, if that's a word. It just gives that sense of things are right the way that they're supposed to be. You are originally getting things in the most authentic way possible, and you get to really get to see what the game was originally included with. You get to see its original packaging. It really comes with a really nice experience. However, when you do buy games complete in box, a lot of times you will be paying a lot more money than what the game would normally be if you were to just buy it just disc only or cart only. A lot of game collectors too will also collect games that are just cart only. Of course, there are game collectors out there that will buy games that are disc only. A lot of these collectors I do not see regularly post content on YouTube, and I think it's because there's a stigma that if you're buying games loose where it's just the disc and it doesn't come with anything else, it kind of creates like a sense of something that's not really wanted, which in my opinion I think is probably the case why I don't see a lot of content being posted online in terms of game rooms, game collections, all that stuff when it comes to games that are just disc only, and that's about it. I feel like one thing that's worth noting is I believe, in my opinion, while I don't think there are game collectors out there that are going to openly state this, but I do think there are some game collectors out there that do feel some form of shame because they just buy a game cart only and it's not complete in box or whatever, simply because they couldn't afford it, where they've only simply just got that cart, they don't have the box, case, insert, manual, it's just that lonely old cart just sitting there on the shelf. I have a few things I want to break down when it comes to collecting games complete in box that are worth noting. So for example, let's take a look at Sega Genesis, right? Sega Genesis games come in a hard plastic case where you can tell that these games were really meant to have some form of protection and casing around them when they were put onto retail shelves, right? So the other thing that's also worth looking at, let's take another example. Let's take a look at Nintendo 64 games. These games don't come in a plastic hard casing box or case. It's just thin cardboard that folds up and can be opened up and all that. And when you open it up, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a VHS paper casing around it. And when opening them up, you'll see that it comes with that manual inside, and of course it will come with that game inside too. One thing that caught my attention once when looking for games online complete in box is I remember there was a specific Super Nintendo bundle where it was the Killer Instinct bundle, where it would come with the console, of course the game. And what's interesting, I remember when you would take a look at the game itself, it did not come in that box that Super Nintendo games would normally come in. It would just come in as just the cartridge only when being opened up with the box itself. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, you know, if Nintendo really had the intention of using those boxes for the Super Nintendo games as a case to put the games in once you were done, it would have been included into that console bundle. Meanwhile, if you look at Sega on the other hand, with the Sonic 1 bundle for the Genesis, that came with the hard shell case for Sonic 1, which really showed where Nintendo and Sega's mindsets were at during the 90s. Nintendo never made a box for the intention of storage once you're done with your game, and they were just predicting and basically making it where once you would get that box, you'd throw it away. And they weren't wrong. Most people threw away those boxes for those 64, NES, Super Nintendo games. Meanwhile, with Genesis on the other hand, that had a higher rate when it came to keeping those games in those cases, which obviously explains to me, which in my opinion, it's a lot easier to collect complete in box for the Sega Genesis than it is for all the Nintendo cart-based consoles. The other thing to consider too when collecting games complete in box is the long-term storage and durability. So for example, let's take a game where it's in a more durable case, such as the Xbox One, and it's pretty straightforward. All you just do is just open up the game, pop it out, put it back in the case, and then once you're done, you just put it back on the shelf. Pretty straightforward stuff. Meanwhile, if you look at the 64, Super Nintendo, NES, those consoles where they were in the box, right? These boxes were made of flimsy cardboard. They crease, they get little blemishes over time. Unfortunately, these cases or boxes don't really hold up well in terms of durability and long-term storage when using them. So that's another thing to think about too when collecting games complete in box. So I'm sure some of you are already thinking, am I trying to convince people from buying games complete in box, or should you stick a little while longer for me to tell you go ahead, buy all the games you want complete in box? The answer is, I'm not trying to convince anybody to do anything. If you like to collect complete in box, go ahead. If you don't want to collect games complete in box, that's also fine too. I'm only presenting the pros and the cons to both. Obviously, collecting games complete in box, more specifically with the cartridge ones, obviously you get all the original packaging, all that good stuff. You get to see how it originally came in, get that full-on experience of what the game was originally like back in the day. Of course, with these games that are complete in box, with the 64, NES, Super Nintendo, they're not really great for long-term storage, durability, all that stuff. But of course, if you're collecting just loose or you just care about having the game, that's also great too. You'll be saving a ton of money. Plus, a lot of these cart-based games are great for long-term storage anyway. Of course, when you're looking at CDs and discs and all that, right, once we get into the more disc-based consoles, obviously, please keep those things in like some form of good long-term storage. Don't just throw them out. Keep them in like a plastic CD case, DVD case, whatever. Don't put them in the DVD binder, CD binders, or the paper sleeves. They're not good for long-term storage. They scratch up your discs over time with the labeling and all that stuff, and it's just not good. Plus, it makes these games more at risk for disc rot. If you want to know more about disc rot, I have an entire video all about disc rot that I will be linking somewhere in the video. So what do I do with my personal game collection and game room? It's pretty simple. Disc-based games, I only collect complete in box. For cart-based games, I only collect complete in box if it comes with a durable case, such as Sega Genesis and Nintendo DS. For Nintendo's NES, Super Nintendo, 64, cart-based consoles where they come with that flimsy box, I don't collect complete in box. Is because it just doesn't make sense to me, because from what I believe and from what I see, I believe that those boxes were never meant to be used as a case to put back once you're done playing with the game. Also, those cases will break down and just get various forms of damage over time. And as someone who doesn't like to just collect games, but also likes to play the games that I own, it just doesn't make sense for me to collect complete in box for those consoles. Now, I'm sure some of you probably remember at the beginning of this video, I held up a complete in box copy of Mario Kart 64 and a loose copy of Super Mario Kart. And the truth is, I did used to collect complete in box for some kart-based consoles way back in the day, but I eventually said, I'm not going to do it anymore just because I want to be able to play my games without worrying about damaging some box or case. Alright, so that's going to conclude it for this video. What do you guys think? Do you guys collect complete in box for your kart-based games? Do you collect disc only for your game collection? How do you buy and collect the games for your personal game collection? Feel free to comment in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts and opinions and how they collect games and store games in their personal game collection. Did you find the video entertaining, useful, informative, all that good stuff? Give a video the like, helps boost it up into the YouTube algorithm so more viewers such as you can find videos just like this. Feel free to subscribe as well, because as you can tell, I talk a lot about game collecting tips, and game related subjects. So if that's something that you're interested in, please consider subscribing. But of course, don't forget to hit that bell notification button so you will be notified when I upload a video such as this. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.